All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the guest list today, one of my favorite goddamn bands from the 90s, a fucking hit factory. On tour now, we have Art from Everclear. Art, how are you, brother?
Good, man. Hello from down under, boys.
Yeah, you're in Australia right now, aren't you?
Oh, Sydney. Yeah, it's I don't have my watch on. It's 9 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday.
What? You're only 7 hours behind. Me, at least.
And a day. Well, it's Monday there, right?
Yeah,
it is.
Wait,
Monday
no,
here.
shit. Never mind. You're like 24 hours ahead or something.
Dave's
You know
not
what
good on
that-
clocks.
You know what that makes me? A time traveler.
Yeah, you're in the future.
Oh, fuck. We've
I'm
never
in
had a
the
time
future.
traveler on here before.
It's awesome, man. When you go over here, who's been to? Have any of you guys been to Australia?
Oh,
No one's been to Australia. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, me and the convicts, right? Me and the convicts and the cutthroats. Man, we're in a part of Sydney called Coogee Beach, and it's just packed with like young, attractive people. And when I say people, I mean women, of course.
right.
'Cause I'm not checking out the guys. I'm sure they're attractive too. But yeah, we got here last night and I went to the supermarket and there's just like hot chicks just, walking around the supermarket. And I'm like, oh, it's that.
I think that's where they farm all the Instagram, like the thirst traps. It's like there.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's like the Genesis, ground
They're
zero.
all like fitness models in incredible shape with incredible genes and exotic, like it's
Yes.
unbelievable. I don't doubt you one bit with what you're saying right now.
Yeah, and which is totally wasted on me because I'm madly in love with my wife of 18 years, and I'm 60, and I've been married 4 times, and it's not that new to me, right? But I can appreciate it. But there's one single guy in the band, and he's this, I don't want to say schlubby little guy, but
we can say
it's
it.
like shooting fish in the barrel, boys. You're in the wrong places.
You know what's funny? The last time I was with AWOL touring, it was like 5 members. 4 of us were married, and then we got a new guitar player who was like 23 and single, and so we all like vicariously were like, that one.
Kenny, I forgot you were on this call. How you doing, brother?
Good to see you, my friend. It's been a long time.
Dude, man, last time you reached out to me, last time we talked or texted was when I was in the hospital with COVID, and I want to appreciate.
That's my man.
Thank you for reaching out to me.
Always.
A lot of cats that I've known for years didn't, and you did, and I
That's
appreciate
good
it.
to hear.
Don't give him too much credit, though. He really
Every
is
goddamn
an asshole.
podcast, someone's saying how nice Kenny is, and I'm getting fucking sick of it.
I hate the positive reassurances that Kenny's actually a good person because we've made up our mind for a long time now that Kenny's not a good person.
This is why
Damn
I
it.
have friends, and you guys don't have friends.
That's true.
Friends
I
are
guess.
overrated. Who needs friends when you have nobody? That's the way to go.
No, Kenny is a good guy.
That's really sad. Can I use you as a sad emoji? For my
Absolutely.
rap?
I'm making NFTs about it right now.
If anybody ever deserves to be a sad emoji, it's White Sox Dave, dude.
Oh, it's not sad. That's like
Oh,
my Nirvana.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing more sad than a guy talking about NFTs.
I don't even know what they are still, but I know I'm doing them.
Yeah.
Sad boy,
I like
sad boy
I like to
NFTs.
ask people like,
Yeah.
I just NFT.
Well, every NFT is a sad boy NFT.
Facts.
basically. 'Cause
Facts, man.
It'll all fit right
it's-
in. Perfect.
We'll see. Time will tell. Anyway,
I mean, that's kind of like a good segue into this art too, because I mean, we've had a couple people on recently where I was talking about, I think it was Nickelback I was talking to about, but just like bands that have lived through different phases of the music industry. And like, it's funny, you guys have been around for like 30 fucking years now, and it's like, imagine back in '94 when you guys are selling millions of CDs and telling you, yo, you got to focus on streaming and NFTs in 2023. You would have probably just been like, all right, fuck this, I'm out.
well, '94, that's when I got signed. So it depends on what part of '94 you look at. Like the first half of '94, I made like $1,500, right? And then I got a publishing deal, and then I got signed 2 months after that. So I made $84,000 for the year, and that was more money than my mom had made in any 3 years of her life at that point.
Yeah.
And
Damn.
so, I mean, just the only reason I say that is because you're right. Like, even go to 97, 98, the whole thing of no one's buying CDs, everybody's buying vinyl. And what the hell is streaming?
But you know,
right?
I still always go back to like our friend Max, right? I always talk about Max, where we're like, he's like, Kenny, you guys sold this many songs or whatever. I'm like, digital downloads. I'm like, there's something so special about being like, I sold 1 million fucking hard copies of my CD. People had to go to the store or order from Columbia House and get the CD.
Right. That's a good point. It's tactile, right? It's something that you can hold.
Yeah.
And it's like, I made this fucking record right here.
You guys
This
used
is
to take so
something I
much
made.
time to make the inserts, the backgrounds, the lyrics, the everything. Like, fuck, man, it was such a process. It was so beautiful.
Like
It's
if I were an artist, I wouldn't even bother with like record art or anything these days, because no one consumes it like that unless you're
No.
buying it for the novelty of having a record. Like House of Bradley, you guys can't see it, but like
I mean,
everybody just cherry picks off the internet what they want to listen to these days.
It's true, but look, like I said earlier, the sales of vinyl is through the roof.
No,
man.
it's going crazy now. Yeah.
You know, and is it competing with digital downloads? Never in any universe will that ever happen. But for a band like us, we're putting out a live record in June. We're going to sell vinyl, CDs, and downloads. But I think the thing is, you have to think outside the box, that if you're going to sell something with vinyl, you got to give them more value added to it, a single or something like that, because people are going to pay the money.
Yep.
They're going to pay an extra 10, 15 bucks, 20 bucks. to
Our
have
label
something.
convinced us that cassettes were coming back, so we bought
They
a bunch
are.
of cassettes. I know they are, but not for us. They weren't, because we're sitting on a bunch of fucking cassettes now.
Bought so many cassettes lately. I got a Ghetto Blaster. I've got Public Enemy. I've got Easy E. I've got Nirvana. I've got all the best cassettes, dude. It's so good.
The last
Dude,
cassette I remember. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, the hipster kids love the fucking cassettes.
Yeah.
Dude, they sound like shit. They're horrible. They're horrible.
When I'm out
But-
in the garage tweaking on cars, that's when the Ghetto Blaster gets play hit, and then we go.
I remember I had a Supernatural by Carlos Santana with like Maria on it and shit.
Yeah.
We burnt that goddamn what's that, the cassette tape out, like rewinded it so many times, sticking a pencil in the hole and trying to rewind it just so it would go back.
Yeah.
Dude, this is the
And-
kind of
and-
shit I
and-
love talking about.
Yeah,
And trying
dude.
to tape it, trying to tape the tape.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But no, it is incredible, because I mean, what is it? 30 years officially? How many years has it been now that Everclear has been a unit?
Well, it's almost 31. In April, I turned 61 and the band turns 31, because that's when I put the ad in this paper that was up out of Seattle called The Rocket. I don't know if any of you guys remember The Rocket, but
remember the
it was
story.
a big deal.
I remember the story.
And I found some guys in Portland and went into a rehearsal hall, and they sucked. And then I met some guys in Seattle, and they were awesome, but we were all too poor to go back and forth, and they weren't going to move there. And I had a baby coming in June, so I couldn't do that. So I went back to the other guys, and we just started slugging it out through the year. And then I got a chance to make a record on dig this, Kenny, 1/4-inch 8-track
What?
Oh,
for $10 an hour. And I didn't even have the money. I just had 2 effects. I had a quad reverb. Anybody remember quad reverbs?
Yeah.
I had a quad reverb and a Lexicon digital delay in a little rack, right? And he gave me $400 worth of trade, and we made our first album, World of Noise.
No way.
Those
What?
kinds of limitations, though, sometimes are what brings out the magic. Because you find yourself in the studio now, and you can literally do anything you can think of, and it's almost like too much choice.
Absolutely. I really think that for creative people, that good stuff comes out of the id and out of the muck and shit when your back is up against the
One of
wall
my favorite
and you
things-
have limitations.
One of my
I
favorite
agree.
things these days is that there's a lot of multi-tracks of old 70s, 80s bands or whatever, where you can get them and put them into your Pro Tools and hear the tracks played. I have Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, Marvin Gaye's Heard It Through the Grapevine, right? But it's 8 tracks, right? And the guitars starts here, and then it pops to this track, and then the background vocals, and it goes because they only had 8, and they had to figure out how to layer. It's really interesting when you can I'm a new Pro Tools guy, right? So I see audio, so to see how they made those decisions, like a snare drum will show up on a vocal track, but because they're mixing it in real time at the it's insane.
That's funny because I had to make that choice when we were recording an 8-track, right? So we had 8 tracks. So kick, snare, overheads for the drums. That's 4 tracks right there. Bass, not 2, no direct box, nothing like that. Bass track, rhythm guitar track, lead vocal track. So then for harmonies or any guitar leads or second guitar parts, we would have to put them on the same track.
Yep.
Oh.
You're bouncing, like actually bouncing down. Before that was just like a keyboard command.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't do any bouncing.
Oh, you didn't do any bouncing. Wow.
No, because it was basically live.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this guy didn't have, the only effects he had were the ones I fucking traded him for.
This verse has 3 singers. You have to sing it at the same time.
Well, yeah. But think about that. Think about all the classic records that were made in the room right now. Nope, that's not the take.
Yeah.
4B is the take.
All the Motown records are basically cut live in a small room.
All the
That
time.
Wrecking Crew documentary was one of the best documentaries I had seen that talked about the live recording of stuff. They're like, take 151. You're like, fuck, that's amazing.
So how has that changed over the course of your career in terms of different records you've recorded? Have you gone with the times and gone fully digital like Kenny with 3,000 tracks and me, like, where you're just like, oh, add another one here, add another one there? Or have you kept things relatively simple?
Well, let's say, thank you, Kenny. Kenny's saying you're number 1, dude. Number 1. That's a really good question because as success happened for us, I started thinking I was fucking Brian Wilson or something back in the 90s. And dude, I don't know if any of you guys remember, before Pro Tools and our biggest album, So Much for the Afterglow, which is to date has sold over 3 million records, was recorded like on, Studers, 24-track Studers. But by the end of it, when we were mixing it, man, I was dragging at least one Studer behind one of those Sony digital 32 28s, I think it is, 32 track. And that we run it from the Lord Alges because they owned everything, the brothers. And it was just like we would have like 400 feet of drag just to get the Simpty to kick in, man, to get everything. If you guys know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I've gone from recording on 1/4-inch 8-track to recording all digital on Pro Tools. And like the next album we did, I bought a bunch of old Neve 1078s and and recorded through those and just all this really great vintage gear that got ruined in a flood in my basement.
Awesome.
And but it's gone full circle because now I record with a guy. The last few things we've recorded is with this guy Jim Kaufman. I don't know if you guys know Jim Kaufman.
Jim's my old production partner. I worked with him.
Jim. I know you know Jim. Yeah. And he's great. Yeah. And we just recorded in his house, and he's got his drum set up or in his garage like studio. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's minimal and simple. But he also has like in that studio. Have you been to his studio?
Oh, dude, he has the Neve Melbourne sidecar, a full Burl rig mothership, like the craziest.
Oh wow!
he might have $750,000 worth of gear
for sure. I remember.
Yeah, and I'm not exaggerating.
Full tech EQs, and I was like, "Well, how much are they?" He goes, $40,000 a piece. I'm like, for EQ? Are you kidding me?
I like this conversation. I like this conversation because I'm pretty illiterate when it comes to gear. And I know Dave's definitely on a different planet right now as far as like trying to understand this.
Yeah, I have no idea what you guys
Is that what his eyes are doing this?
Like I'm a songwriter. I know how to write songs. I don't know shit about fucking consoles. I know what the names are and I know it's expensive, but like
I think subconsciously, you know, like there's certain things like I grew up, my dad was in the business and has still got 2 Studer 24 track machines that we've lugged around the world, like growing up. So like when I was a kid, he had me like splicing tape just for fun and that. And he's been pulling up some of the multi-tracks he's got of himself and other bands that he worked with. And I'll tell you what, man, that shit sounds better when you listen to it back straight like that. It's like undeniable. It's, for me, it's not worth the trouble, and like I'm in such a different mindset, but holy shit, does it sound good.
It is.
It does sound good. It sounds better, man. When you just pound shit to tape and just get that tape compression, they've come really, really close at emulating it, but it ain't the same thing.
That's Steven.
But go ahead, Kenny. What were you going to say?
Slate tape emulator is one of the most like go-to master bus plugins there is.
It's really good, and if you A/B it with a bunch of Ponzi, gear aficionados, they're not going to be able to tell.
Yeah.
But the point is, the kids listening to music now, no one's listening to shit on nice speakers.
No.
They're on fucking AirPods and in their cars. And
which has all got its built-in weird-ass compression on top of everything. But I totally agree with what you're saying. Like the end result is listening on a shitty system to a shitty MP3 or AAC. But when you take an old record, like even like way back, like take a Little Richard record, what's so amazing about that good source material is you can literally play it through fucking anything and it sounds good. So there's something about that source material.
Absolutely, dude, because it was the real shit. I agree. I remember someone gave me like because they knew I was a Little Richard fan. I'm a rock and roll fan. New, old, I just fucking love rock and roll. I can't wait for you guys to hear this live record because it's raw as fuck.
Let's go.
It sounds great. We recorded one night at the Whiskey. And I had never played the Whiskey before. I played every club in the world. And I grew up in LA. I had sex and shot heroin at the Whiskey, but I never sometimes at the same time. But he gave me they must have got it from the Masters, and it was on vinyl, and just of the old masters of Little Richard's greatest hits, and just cranked it up on this old Lin amp system that I used to have, and it just sounded like I was in a fucking nasty studio full of smoke and back,
Yeah, some of that old gear and those old recordings, you understand why all these like weird music nerd engineers like use words like butter and velvet and honey, all like these silly words to describe music, and then you hear it and you're like, oh, I get it. Yeah, this sounds like honey. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. But one thing that really came to me when I was listening to that Little Richard, how his voice was so loud that it would overdrive those whatever it was. I don't know what mics he used. I'm sure it was old, like condenser mics, or maybe it was like an old Cole's mic or something. But it sounded so fucking punk rock.
Yeah. Dude.
Because he's just like screaming and the band's just raging, and it's just like, and it's in the moment. It's right there. What's more punk rock than that?
That's what's so important to me when I work with bands, when they're like, I want this to be louder or grittier. And I'm like, then play it harder.
Yeah. Facts.
My mentor, Jimmy Messer, who did like all the, he worked with the guy who did Spoon, Mike McCarthy, and like all this stuff, which I feel like I learned the most stuff from him. He was like, the amp goes to 10. And if you want it clean, you play light. If you want it dirty, you fucking dig into it. And that's how a guitar player plays. And I was like, man, that's incredible.
Yeah, because that's how you play. And that's the thing about guitar players. I'm not a great guitar player. I'm not. But I have a thing. It's like Max. You talk about Max Collins. Max Collins has a thing.
Yeah.
He's nobody's like, epitome of bass player, or even a guitar player, but he has an edge to him that is his.
Yeah.
And a cadence that's in his head. And I think most of the original people who are making songs and recording music have that.
Yeah.
And
it's such a state of mind thing. And Kenny and I, we toured with Max when Kenny was in a band with Max called Fitness. And that's so much of what I learned from Max was just like, I don't know how to describe it other than like commitment.
Yeah.
Like he would just get behind the mic. We were recording shit on the bus on like the worst possible equipment you could have. And it didn't matter because he had commitment and it came through in the take. You know what I mean?
I agree. And you like what I was saying before, you can't teach that. Yeah. You know, you can teach the crafts, but you can't teach that. And it's like Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. You know, Billy Gibbons can pick up any guitar. It could be a fucking cheap ass, dime store guitar, and it still sounds like Billy Gibbons because it's all here. My guitar player, Davey French, has that same thing where any guitar he picks up sounds like him.
Take the world's best, like you said, best bass player and put them through the worst gear. Sounds incredible. Take a normal bass player and put them through incredible gear. It sounds like trash.
It sounds like you guys are telling me to stop buying gear, and it's not going to help.
Yeah,
but it looks great. But it looks great in the picture.
Yeah, it looks good, huh?
Dude, it's funny you brought up Billy Gibbons because like that whole time I'm thinking back, my dad as a kid telling me, I'd always be like, I want this big Marshall stack, whatever. And he's like, Billy Gibbons and Keith Richards played through what he called these little cigarette box amps, where they were like legitimately the size of cigarette boxes, and they would mic them on fucking stage. And it's just like, dude, learn how to play your fucking instrument first, and then worry about the gear after.
I don't even tour anymore.
Yeah, we've all been there. We all wanted that. It's just like you get that, and a lot of it's a dick thing.
Yeah. It's all
if we're being honest about it. And at 60, who do I have to fucking impress, right?
If I could play the Marshall full stack, I would. 2 full cabinets to the sky, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. To get that to break up, how loud does that got to be to get that shit to break up?
And not as loud as an AC30. You know what I mean?
AC30s are fucking great amps, dude.
They are.
All right, on more of a songwriter's note, we were kind of talking about I would call it your Brian Wilson phase. And I wonder if this kind of goes hand in hand because there's just a slew of records that still to this day on alternative radio get spun constantly. Yeah. And I'm always interested when you get an artist in that phase of their career where they just can't stop making hits, right? Did you know you were in that moment? Like, were you like, everything I'm doing is turning to gold? Or was it just like, wow, that one hit too? Like, did you fucking know you were in that fucking moment?
I love these questions, by the way.
It's a really great question because, I
agree.
And first of all, I'm flattered that you put me in that conversation. Thank you. Man, it just seemed like I was, when you're in the zone, you're shooting baskets, and it doesn't matter where you're shooting from. There's like a tube. You're just throwing it in the fucking tube, and I felt like that for years and years and years. Literally we had like 4 successful records in a row. Who does that?
Yeah.
It was just me being, to be honest with you, a lot of it, I think in hindsight, I would give credit to my alcoholism because even though I was clean and not drinking and not using, I wasn't going to meetings. I wasn't working my program. And I was sleeping with a ridiculous amount of women and while being married, which most guys go, fuck yeah. But it also left a lot of blood in the water.
That was gonna be one of my big questions for you, though, Art, was that
how many women?
No. I was curious, like
more than you and not as many as Wilt Chamberlain.
I was curious to consider your negative experiences in your life, of which I know you've had a lot, as a good building block for your songwriting. Like, do you think you would have written as big of songs, quote unquote, or as important of songs if you hadn't experienced some of those horrible things? I was just always curious. Right.
No, I think I would do something creative because, like I said, I don't think that's something you can teach. And I don't necessarily believe that comes from the damage, but I think the damage helps funnel it into a certain direction and put the flavor on it. That's that's been my take so far. I don't think Damage necessarily creates that.
All right, so I'm one of the younger guys on here that kind of grew up in that alt era, grunge era. Afterglow was one of the first CDs I ever bought and just played it like
Religiously.
religiously. How, like, when you were writing those songs and putting those out, like, were you nervous? I mean, the honesty and the rawness, I think being one of these like young punk kids, I think that's one of the things that attracted me to not just the genre, but Everclear and you in general, was kind of that, emo, but not goth emo, where you guys are literally, you're pouring your story out on all these songs. And I'd never lived through any of that or experienced that, yet it still resonated with me. And I think I'm speaking for a lot of people.
Definitely.
That grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. And it's like, I can't imagine writing my story and putting it out to millions of people like that. Like, did that even cross your mind, or were you just like, we're fucking going?
Yes and no. You're yes to both. First of all, I was writing from narrative. Like, I was writing storytelling. I was writing from the first person because that's what appeals to me. Right. That's what stories have always resonated with me. And so that being said, at the time in the 90s, people were just like, some bands were just really good at throwing those kind of lyrics up there that seemed random, but actually kind of made sense, like Nirvana and a lot of the bands like that.
Foo Fighters for sure.
All of them. Oasis.
But there was plenty of bands that just threw shit against the wall, and you're like, what?
Yeah. Pearl Jam.
Yeah, we're not going to name names here. Just
leave them all. Let's go.
Don't pick on the kids. Come on. On the special kids, leave them alone. But the point I was trying to make is that when I was going through that process, I learned something early on from a lot of the people. My mentors were people I didn't know. They were the Otis Redding, Brian Wilson, the Beatles, the Stones, those guys. That's what I learned from. And to me, if you listen to my songs, what you're saying about like just the naked honesty, there's songs there that are autobiographical. I'd say about a third of them, like Father of Mine, I Will Buy You a New Life. There's songs that are really intense. And another song that's on Afterglow called Why Don't Believe in God, which is about my mom having a nervous breakdown. But then there's other songs on there that I just take different things from my life and I make kind of a composite or an amalgam character, that isn't really me, but is the me sometimes I wish I was or wish I wasn't, writers, a little bit of writer's influence there. And then the other third of the songs are just totally created.
Yeah.
And on our first major label record, Sparkle and Faith, there's a song on there called Queen of the Air. And it's about this kid that realizes that his real mother jumped off a bridge when he was little, and that's what's been dogging him his whole life. And my drummer goes, man, that song is great, and I'm really sorry about your mom. I go, why?
What?
My mom lives in Beaverton, Oregon, like 25 miles away. He goes, that's not about your mom. I go, no, I just saw the title on a book and didn't know what the book was about, and just wrote the song from that. So my point as a songwriter is if you can write from different perspectives and the listener can't tell the difference, you're doing your job.
That's insane. I mean, that's a talent that, like, the fact that you could convince somebody that knew you that well that was a true story, like that's crazy.
Well, obviously you didn't know me that well, right?
No, but he's still with you like day in and day out. But I mean, when did you realize that you had that talent?
Well, I was playing in bands in my late teens and early 20s and playing in all sorts of bands in LA, punk bands, country bands, all sorts of different stuff. And I had a really bad, like, too much cocaine in my arm and ended up being defibrillated. That was the first of probably 5 times that happened. And I ended up I quit all my bands. And I was in a band. It's funny, you guys will appreciate this. So I'm in a band with a singer who's singing, and I'm playing guitar. And he's like, man, can you play something more linear? Totally pretentious little fucking dude who couldn't even sing that well anyway. And I'm like, linear. Define linear. I knew what he wanted. He wanted me to palm mute and just do a punk rock thump 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 thing. But I wasn't gonna I wasn't gonna bail him out. Define linear. First of all, linear is, and we're in rehearsal, and I start playing, and my bass player's looking at me like, don't. I'm like, fuck it. Unplug my guitar, walk to my case. He's like, don't quit. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't deal with people who are singing who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Because if they don't know what they're talking about here, it's never going to change.
Right.
You can't teach that. And I went home, and this is before I got clean and sober. And I moved home with my mom, slept on her fold-out couch in Hawthorne, California, and taught myself how to sing and play at the same time. Because I could play guitar or I could sing, but I couldn't do them both at the same time. And I smoked a bunch of pot and learned how to do that back when I was 20. And I started writing songs, and I wrote some really shitty songs.
Yep.
And then I started writing some better songs. And I remember I was at someone's house, and I was 20, almost 21. And I had been writing continuous day in, day out, doing nothing but drugs, drinking, occasionally having sex with this girl that we booty call type situation. But my main priority in life, which wasn't women at that time, which is really weird for me. And I was writing songs. And I was at a party, when you're in your late teens, 20s, you just go, a party's going to someone's house, sitting in their like rec room, drinking beer and getting fucked up. Yeah. And there's like 6 or 7, no, there's like 14 people there. And I'm just playing the song. And all of a sudden I look up, and everybody had stopped talking, and they're all looking at me. And they're all like, Art, did you write that song? I go, yeah. And they're like, that's pretty good.
Hell yeah.
So that's when I knew that was my thing.
You could
because
point the exact moment.
I felt, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I had suspected it, and I knew that I was moving towards it. I knew I wasn't there yet, but I knew that, the hardest part of any journey is knowing really where you want to go. And once you know where you want to go, everything else is just part of the process. And,
you could give me the biggest pop star in the world right now to interview, and I would take this over that. There's nothing better in the world than to fucking have a songwriter who can synthesize that kind of a thought into.
You need to get out of that fucking room, dude.
No.
Yeah,
no.
Tell them
that.
One of the coolest things you said, Kenny preaches this all the time, is the songwriting process like blows my mind, because I think it's one of the hardest things in the world to do. To translate thoughts into harmony and music and have it be appreciated at the level, you just said how many million records after 3 million?
Worldwide, in the States, it's right under 7 million. Worldwide, it's around 8.
Sorry, way more than 3. But I mean, it's just like craziness to me. So
that was that one album.
I know that's what I mean. I mean, so I ask, we ask a lot of guests that we have on, that question, and Kenny says the same thing. He's like, you have to write a ton of shitty songs before you start writing good ones.
But it's so tough now though, because all kids who were starting to write songs put their shit up right away. the shitty songs, right? Back in the day, you could write songs, hold on to them, grow your craft, and then fucking get a record deal and then start releasing things out into the world. Nowadays, the feedback is this quick. You write like 3 shitty songs, people tell you it sucks, nobody listens, and you get discouraged and you're out.
Yo, Art, you'll appreciate this. I not got into it, but I had to have a conversation with Sweet Pea about taking down fitness songs because I fucking hated them. And he's like, you can't take down songs. He goes, the song's already out. People already know them. I'm like, down. I never want to see it again, kind of thing. So I've deleted songs off the internet.
Dude, I got to tell you something. People are like, do you write any bad songs, especially in that era when I was writing, we had 3 or 4 platinum records in a row. And I'm like, yeah, I write bad songs. You just don't hear them.
Yeah.
Right.
They go over there and then I cannibalize them. If there's good ideas in a bad song, don't get rid of the song. Take the idea. And
I love that.
It's patience, Kenny. Don't you agree? It's just, and you guys who write songs, you got to wait. It's going to, waiting is,
I was just watching the new Leonard Cohen documentary on Netflix, and he was talking. It's kind of from the angle of Hallelujah and what a phenomenon that's become. And he was talking about that song, having worked on it for 7 or 8 years, ending up with like 180 verses to it. Are there any songs that are unreleased that you've written that are kind of like I'm going to get this right one day? Where it's like it's like your magnum opus. I've got 1 or 2 of them like that where I'm like, it's not ready yet. Have you got anything like that?
Well, I have songs like that come out at times. There's on the live record we're doing, there's 2 new songs that we recorded with Jim Kaufman. That one song's already out. It's called Year of the Tiger, and it's kind of a political, punky, power pop, punky song. And then the other song is a song that I have recorded the music for that with 3 different incarnations of the band, but never had the right lyrics, had the right melody, and I just didn't sweat it. And then when I did a solo record in 2018, it came out in 2019, and I played everything on the record, and I can't play a drum kit anymore because I have multiple sclerosis and my right leg has what's called drop foot. So I don't have control over that foot as much, right? And so I had to play the drums, boom, boom, pa, boom, boom, and then put hi-hats on it and stuff, which really is kind of cool. It has a different kind of feel to it. Mm-hmm. But the record has kind of that Harvest, Joni Mitchell blue kind of feel to it. And it just, the lyrics for that song, I didn't know what that song was about. And I was watching this thing. I've got kids. I don't know if you guys got kids, but I was watching this thing about this girl that got bullied on the internet and killed herself. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I can't think of anything more fucking horrific. And I wrote a song. Why would I write a song about that? Because that's what appeals to me, because I couldn't think about it without wanting to cry.
Yeah.
It just hit me so hard. And I wrote a song called Sing Away that I recorded for the solo record, and Everclear just recorded it as more of a rock song it's going to be an added track on the live album that comes out.
It's funny, the life of songs, man. It's so
yeah.
When Max did
don't throw anything away.
Yeah,
just don't play it for people until it's done.
Max and I made an LP called Karate for Fitness. It was going to be a 10 song, which everybody said, don't do an LP. Why would you do an LP? We wanted to do it. We wrote, I swear to God, over 70 songs for that record, and then whittled it down to 10. But then some of those ones that got bucketed are still like, one day I'm going to figure out that song.
Dude, I have half a chorus somewhere that's so good. If I can just fucking figure out where it fits. Like, I've never found a place for it, but it's so satisfying. Like, people talk about the magic of sometimes you write a song and it like literally just comes like that. And that's magic. But to me, there's also the equal satisfaction of like years later when everything, like you were saying, like it just, all the events of the universe kind of fell into place. We're like, okay, here's the time now where this thing you've been working on actually clicks. And that's another magical moment.
Here's a question for all you guys, specifically Art. since he's the subject of this interview, on the flip side, has there ever been a song you guys have put out where you're like, that like, and then it just goes off and you're like, these people like that piece of shit? Like,
not my
you know?
singles. Not my singles, but there's a song on our fourth album that had wonderful AM radio.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs I've ever written called "Learning How to Smile." That's on there as well. But there's a song called "Unemployed Boyfriend," and if I could take that one back,
yeah,
I'd take it back. And people have offered me thousands of dollars to sing that song at their wedding.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't have enough money. Come on, I'll give you 20 grand.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry.
That's not.
Wow.
That was Sail by AWOL Nation. That was a song we wrote in 2.5 hours. And when people started being like, that's the one, we were like, you are out of your fucking mind.
Fucking mind,
that
dude.
fucking song is so dumb. It has one word 4 times. We're like, there's no chance. You know, what do you know?
Yeah, see, you overestimated people.
Right.
You overestimated idiots like me who needs that simplicity that doesn't know what the fuck they're listening to.
What's funny too is that I would write songs with other bands, right? And sometimes we would do a song that was one word chorus, and I'd have a manager be like, "You can't do one word for a chorus," and I'd be like, "Oh yeah." You know?
You're such a dickhead, dude.
You used up your one word quota, though.
I think he has the right to do that because
he definitely does.
As a songwriter, everybody here that's a songwriter knows that if a manager or an A&R says something, your immediate reaction is, "Really?
You're wrong."
Right. You're wrong. Why don't you send an email? And
Is there still A&R guys? Is there really still A&R guys? Because all the guys that were A&R when I was coming up are all in real estate.
Yeah, they're TikTok robots now is the new A&R.
That's basically what it is.
I'm telling you, I work with a lot of up and coming bands, right? Like the bands that haven't broken yet. They just got signed and they're looking for that hit, quote unquote. The amount of fear these kids have of the label and the people in the power because some fat guy behind a desk didn't think it was cool enough. And I'm like, you guys are caring too much about what this person thinks. Crazy.
That was, but that's not, it's always been like that. And I have to say, it's got to be the people who have been successful have been the assholes like me that are just like, I don't care. It's like when we were coming up in 94, we had a publishing deal and we did 2 label, like shows for label guys. One in New York at the Mercury Lounge where my drummer disappeared, showed up 45 minutes late and baked out of his mind, forgot all the songs, wrote 2 bass strings in a song and 3 guitar strings. So it was a fucking disaster. And then 2 months later, we did it at Jack's Shack. What was that place in LA? The old, I forget, but it was, we did a show there and the next day, 32 labels. It was just like one came in, my manager faxed it to everybody else and just 32 offers like that. Like
Jesus Christ.
Art, guess.
And I responded back, much to the chagrin of my manager. I go, I want this much money.
Yeah.
I want this many firm records. I only want to give you one option. I want full mechanicals after we get 100,000 records. And, and I loaded the back end and they're like, okay, this all sounds reasonable. I want tour support. I want a van. I want a trailer. You buy it, blah, 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 blah. We get to this level. We get buses. They were all cool with it. And then I go, oh, yeah, by the way, I want total creative control on everything. And I produce my own records. And it was like, poof.
Yeah.
22 of those 32 labels gone. Crickets. Nothing.
Those showcases are something. Guess where we did our AWOL Nation showcase? Just one, and we got the same bunch of label deals came in. We did our showcase at Crazy Girls Strip Club.
Smart.
Right. Yeah. So we actually paid the girls not to dance, and then did our showcase there.
That's the ultimate fallback plan. Get it? Fallback.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh my!
But
fucking God.
you're up there. Didn't metal bands used to do that shit?
I think so. I think a Motley Crue shot girls at that dance
Crazy
club.
Girls at Crazy Girls.
At Crazy Girls or something like that. Yeah, that was the thing where they convinced us. They're like, guys, Motley Crue shot a video here. It's gonna be awesome. We're like, okay.
500 years ago.
yeah, exactly.
Jesus. fucking
All right,
Christ.
what are
Before, because I know we've been here for a minute. I know we're gonna get out of here soon. I have to do my compliment section to Art. I always
this is the first, by the way. This is the first.
It's very rare that I give compliments, but I say this all the time. As a musician, there are a few moments in your musical career that are, for lack of a better word, magical. It was like watching Nine Inch Nails in Germany, watching Alt J at the Bowl, like all these different things that like just kind of change your life as a musician. And Art, I had always been a fan of yours since day one. Then we became friends, which was really cool. Then we went to Max's 40th birthday party, and you played just you with an acoustic guitar standing in front of like a group of people. And it was one of the most incredible, amazing feelings I had ever had, and just put you through the stratosphere in respect from me. And it was just one of the best moments of my life, was watching you play a birthday party for our friend.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I'm a huge fan of what you do, of your production. I've always wanted to work with you. It's always been in the back of my mind that someday we'll get together and
100%.
we'll do something.
We should get a Congos, Fitness AWOL, Foxtrot, Everclear collab going.
There we go.
You sound like a fucking manager, Dave.
Yeah, dude.
I could
What
be
do you want?
Well, Art, if you ever want to
No,
make
that'd
a
be
song-
sick.
Art, if
You know what? I'll write the song. You guys
Yeah,
play it.
that's what we need.
We're the one with the platinum records on the wall. We're gonna record your song.
Yeah, perfect. I write for a living, so I can write a song.
Hey, everyone's talking shit. Don't give me that face. Everyone's talking.
Art, I gotta kind of piggyback Kenny's thing. I like I said, just massive fan since a young age. This is like surreal, the fact that I'm actually getting to talk to you right now. If you had told me at 10 years old I would be on a Zoom with you in 30 years, first off, I'd say, what the fuck is Zoom? Second off, I'd be like, no chance in hell. But I didn't want to detour the convo, but I do want to ask you, first off, you look fucking amazing. The fact that you're 61 years old is bananas. You look better than some 30-year-olds I know.
He's my dad's age, and my dad looks 10 years older than him.
Dude.
Dave's like, my dad looks fucking terrible.
Yeah.
He looks like shit.
So whatever you're doing, congratulations, keep it up. You look awesome. But how are you feeling? I know the news that you announced a few years ago that really fucking sucked to hear, but I'm glad at the same time, because I lost my best friend's mom to MS a couple of years ago. It's fucking horrible, horrific disease. It affects way more people than I think people realize. But it's good to see that it's not necessarily a death sentence, that you're still doing what you were put on earth to do. You're making incredible music, you're touring, you're touching lives, you're spreading the word. I mean, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's day to day. Like Kenny and I were talking about in late 2021, well, not late 21, in January of 21, I caught COVID. And it put me in the hospital for about 3 weeks. And then I was in bed for 2 months after that. And I got pneumonia, and it wouldn't go away. And I lost about 12% of my lung capacity.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's it gave me more lesions. So it progressed my MS. Good news, I'm on a better medication now. I'm on a different protocol, diet, exercise. When I'm home, I swim every day. I got a pool in my backyard. That being said, it is what it is, man. I also had spinal fusion. I'm legally, I'm legally disabled in two ways. The MS and I had 2 spinal fusions. So it's just, it makes shit harder. It's like getting older. When you get older, shit's harder when you're 40 than when you're 30, harder when you're 50 than when you're 40. And this just adds, sometimes it adds a good 10 or 20 years to me. It's just harder to get up and do what I got to do. But that's not every day. And I'm very grateful to my mother for teaching me, not just for the disease and what I've had to go through physically in the last 10 years, but just in my life. I wouldn't have been successful if I didn't have just that perseverance, that quantitative tenacity of just, no, I don't like that. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm not changing. I remember when we got signed, dude, we had up to that point a phone book worth of rejection letters from various bands, from Everclear, Colorfinger, Easy Host, all my bands that have bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But that when I moved to Portland from San Francisco with a pregnant girlfriend, I was like, okay, this is my last band. I got to do one more. I can't walk away from it. And if this doesn't work, I'll be a songwriter and work for a label and do that, right? And be a label president someday. But it worked, thank God. And a large part of that is because I didn't give up. And I say that to people when people ask, can you give me any advice? I go, yeah. If you really believe in yourself, don't give up.
Yep.
Don't listen to other people. Listen to other people. Take from it as objectively as you can. Be your own biggest cheerleader and your own worst critic at the same time. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to say, yeah, I like this song, but it's not good yet. It's not great. And don't, it's like when we were making Afterglow, before I called it So Much for the Afterglow, we mixed it in New York. And I sent it, this is back in 97. I sent it ISDN to my A&R guy and to Perry Watts Russell. And he's like, Arthur, in his stupid English accent, goes, Arthur, it's okay. You know, it's good, but it's not great. It's not up to your standards, and it's not going to do for your career what you wanted to do. And I walked around, I was so fucking depressed. I walked around New York for like 2 weeks and just stayed there and licked my wounds. And then I started writing songs and started writing notes. And I spent 2.5 weeks just getting 4 or 5 new songs ready, production notes, what songs to get rid of. And I called the band. I said, we're going to do this. We're going to remix it. Told my A&R guy to get Andy, why am I blanking on his name? Who's the big mix guy? Come on, guys.
I don't know.
Andy.
Know.
Anyway. Andy Wallace. Andy Wallace.
There we go.
And Andy Wallace agreed to mix it. And we went in and turned it into So Much for the Afterglow, which I still think to this day is, you know, my kind of crowning achievement.
What a pinnacle statement, man. That's incredible.
It really was.
I'm ready to run through a fucking brick wall right now.
Anytime my life's ever gotten hard, the only thing that works for me is to say, you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. It's one or the other. There's no in between.
Binary.
It sucks and you're going to do it or you're just not going to do it. So pick one and move forward.
Right. And that's where bravery comes in. It really is. It's brave to have a pregnant girlfriend and be on welfare and just say, I'm doing my band. I'm going to work temp jobs. I'll go out and dig ditches. You know, I'll do anything I have to do, but I'm still going to leave every night and go to this shitty basement and work on these songs. Mm-hmm. And because bravery is not doing something you're not afraid of. It's being afraid and doing it anyway. And yeah, I was afraid, but I'm one of those people, like we were talking on, and I think all of us are to a certain extent. When you scare me, when you put my back to the wall, that's when I get fucking, that's when I go into motion.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's how you have to. That's how we have to end this convo. I'm sorry.
Best interview we've ever had.
That was that was my
Agreed.
favorite.
Get
Yeah.
the fuck out of here.
Swear to God, dude. We've had.
Swear,
It's
man.
definitely up there.
This has been
Yeah.
the best hour, like, of motivation and inspiration and just recounting glory.
What a
days. I mean,
cool
this is
story,
fucking
top to
awesome.
bottom.
I should
You're the
write a
man.
book, huh?
Yeah.
I
How have
didn't
you
even
not?
get it.
How have
We
you
didn't even
not,
talk about
honestly?
we didn't even really talk about the drugs and the women. Those are the good part.
Part 2. We'll do a part 2.
No,
I want. Can I name your live album? Can the name of the live album be "I did cocaine and had sex at the whiskey and all I got was this fucking live album"?
but I didn't say cocaine. I said heroin. But you're close. You're half right. You're half
Cross
right.
out cross out cocaine and write heroin above it.
No, you're half right. It was speedballs. So,
Okay. I did
So
speedballs
a
and had
drug
sex at the
cocktail.
whiskey and all I got was this
Hey.
live album.
maybe we just call it speedball
There you go.
or speedballs back in the day. Help me riff with me, boys.
Yeah,
Vintage
yeah.
speedballs.
Speedballs at the Roxy.
Speedball 1989, something like that.
97
yeah.
speedballs.
Fuck yeah. All right, everybody, go see Everclear on tour. Art, how many more dates you have left?
Dude, here in Australia,
Yeah,
We
just in
have-
general. I mean, we have a big audience in America, so what are we hitting?
well, we as of yesterday or as of last week, we have 60 shows booked. So, and that's
Good shit.
we did 90 last year, and it's only February, the first week of
Art,
February.
if there's an LA show, I'll see you there, my friend.
Well, hopefully we'll have one. It's funny. I was going to call you about the whiskey show.
Yeah.
It was on December 1st. I should have called you.
Yeah.
I just got so wrapped up in
Of course.
I just got off the bus and I was home and my 15-year-old daughter's wearing push-up bras and shit.
Oh God, listen, I've got 6-month-old twins,
It's the worst.
I've got 6-month-old twins, so I'm in the thick of it. But next time you're in LA and you think about it, hit me up. We'll go grab a coffee.
Let's go grab a coffee. That'd be fun.
Sounds good.
All you
Hey,
guys, man, thank you guys for having me on. This
Real
is
quick,
Yeah,
are
thanks
you
so much, man.
Are you working with any MS foundations or anybody you want to shout out?
Absolutely. I work with the MS Society and I work with why am I blanking? There's the MS right there. I work with several different societies and organizations.
We'll get that from your manager, and we'll
Yeah,
be sure when this
But let
episode
Kenny
comes
know,
out.
and when we post this, we'll make sure to shout him out and include it and
Yeah.
link to it.
That'd be
This
great.
is- we cannot thank you enough, man. This was dream come true. Thank you.
And
so
you
much.
are on record of signing up to all of us record the song that White Sox Dave writes. I want to. You're on record.
That's legally binding.
Why don't we
legally
just kick Dave out of this and cut the middleman out and
imagine.
me and middlemen.
Yeah, I know.
You know what's funny? The last thing I have spent the last 2 years, I went back to college online to get my alcohol drug certification, to work with people in recovery, and to get 3 protocols of a master life coaching course. It took me almost 2 years. And one of the things I'm working with is creatives, people who are creative, that work in the creative industry. And man, if I had a guy like me, 20, 30 years ago, I'd still own my publishing. Because
Dude,
know?
you're a
Yeah.
beast, man. Honestly, like your life story, it's fucking insane, and you continue to just do
We're gonna
incredible
make movies
stuff.
about you, Art.
Yeah.
You got to write a book, man. You got to write a book.
I want to write the book. I'm moving in that direction. Hopefully I'll do it before I die.
Please.
We'll see.
Okay. Ladies and
All right,
gentlemen,
boys.
Art, thank you so much, brother.
All right, man. You guys are awesome. Thank you again for having me on. Kenny,
Thank
let's
you.
talk,
Yeah.
and you guys be good.